Amud Beis. We'll begin Amud Aleph, 5 lines from the bottom, the 2 dots. We were discussing previously the concept of Yisurin. To continue on with that topic, Tanya Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Omer. Shalosh matanos tayvis nasan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. Rabban Shalom gave Klal Yisrael 3 precious gifts. V'chulam loy nasanim el yidei Yisurin. And each one of them were given only through Yisurin, through suffering. It's only through suffering that we merit these great gifts. Elohein Torah v'Eretz Yisrael v'olam haba. Torah minayin. How do we know that Torah was given through Yisurin? Shenemar asher gever asher teyasen haka. That fortune of the person who Hashem afflicts him. Umi Torahscha talamdenu. And then he gives us the Torah, he teaches us the Torah. Eretz Yisrael d'chsiv kasher yaser yish es beno Hashem lekechem yasrek. Just like a person admonishes his son, Hashem admonishes you, he gives you musar d'chsiv basrek Hashem lekecha meviecha al Eretz Tova. And Hashem is bringing you to this great land. Eretz Yisrael is nicked through Yisurin. Ha'olam haba d'chsiv k'iner mitzvah v'Torah or v'derech chaim. Derech chaim is Olam Haba. Olam Haba is Derech Chaim, that's the eternal life. And it says after that, Toichacha is Musa. That Musa, admonishing, afflicting Yisurin, Olam Haba is given through Yisurin as well. Tani Kamid Rabbi Yechon Kola Oisik B'Torah B'Gemilas Chasadim. If a person is Oisik B'Torah and Gemilas Chasadim, V'Kaiver as Bonav, and Rahman al-Islan, he buries his son, Moichlem loy al-kol, his sons, Moichlem loy al-kol avenoisa. He's forgiven for all his averas. Amar lei Rabbi Yochanan bishlam Torah gemilas chasodim. We understand Torah gemilas chasodim dechsi bechesed ve'emes yichuper av. So with chesed and emes, the averas, there's a kapara for the averas. Chesed, what is chesed? So gemilas chasodim. Shenema roidev tzedakah v'chesed yimsachayim tzedakah v'chavit. So that's a reference to gemilas chasodim. Emes zu Torah shenemar emes kanev al timka. So it's referring to Torah. Hold on to the Torah. Acquire the Torah. So we understand that these gemilas chasodim and Torah give him kaparas avonos. However, how do we know that Kaivrbanov? How do we know as well? That's Mechapran and Kol Avainoisov. Sana Lehahu Saba, Mishum Rav Shimon ben Yochai, also Oven, we have Xera Shava, we learn out Oven. Ksiv, Hacha Bechesed, Ve'emes, Yechuper Oven. So in this context, this pasuk says, with Chesed, Emes, Yechuper Oven. The oven will be forgiven. There'll be an atonement. And it says that the sins of the fathers will be paid onto the children if they follow in their father's evil ways. They will be punished for that, for the affairs of their father. So you see over here that the oven is a reference to the children. So the chesed ve'emes yichuper oven, there'll be a chapara also for oven, for averis, and also for through yichuper oven, through oven. In this context, it means through oven, through the misa of oven, which is for reference to the pasuk. It says that the children will die on account of the sins of the fathers. There'll be a kapara. Omer Rav Yochanan negoim ubonim einu yisurin shel ava. Rabbi Yochanan said no. He said the goyim and bonim, the death of the children of Rahman al-Islan, and the goyim and leprosy, tsaras, are not Yisurin shel ava. So it would seem to be very strange. Why would one think that the goyim being afflicted with tsaras is Yisurin shel ava? We know that the goyim come for different averas, for lashon hara, for Torah Zion. We know Chazal tell us that the Goyim Tzaras comes as a punishment for different types of averas. So why would I think that these are Yisurin shel Ahava? So let's keep this question in mind as we go a little further. So Rav Yochanan says, "In the Goyim Abanim ain't Yisurin shel Ahava." When the Goyim loy, are the Goyim not considered Yisurin shel Ahava? So the Gemara is now asking the other way. Are they not Yisurin Shel Hava? We learned in the Brisa, Kol Mishiyesh B'Yechad Me'arba Maras Negoyim Halalu. If anyone has one of the four Maras Negoyim, different shades of white, with a different intensity of white on spots that he has, Ein El Mizbeach Kapara, it's considered a Mizbeach Kapara. So just like the Mizbeach has a Kapara, Korbanos and Mechaper for Klal Yisrael, the Mechaper for the whole seaboard. So this is also Negoyim are a Kapara. Now, in order to be that type of a Kapara, to be Mechaper, like Korbanos generally, that would have to be a Yisurin Shel Ahava. It's not only for particular Avera, it would have to be a Yisurin Shel Ahava. Some more answers. No, Mizbeach Kapara Hava. Yisurin Shel Ahava Lo Hava. It's Mizbeach Kapara, meaning in the sense it's Mechaper. It's Mechaper for the particular Avera. It's Mechaper for the particular Avera. It's not Mizbeach Kapara, for instance, like a Korban Tomid that doesn't come for an Avera, but elevates Klal Yisrael. No, it's a Mizbeach Kapara, but not Yisurin Shel Ahava. Alternatively, you can answer Alon, Halahu. It depends if we're talking in Eretz Yisrael or in Bavel. In Eretz Yisrael, the Metzayra, the leper, has to be sent out mechutz l'machana. If he sends out mechutz l'machana, he has to leave his home and he has to go outside the machana. There's great difficulty and great embarrassment. It's a great busha. The suffering is much more. In Bavel, where he does not have to go chutz l'machana, the suffering is less. So in Bavel, outside of Eretz Yisrael, where they don't have the chaymas that were there from Noiseshu Benun, outside Eretz Yisrael, if he has tzaras, it's not Yisurin Shel Hava. It's not Yisurin Shel Hava. It's for the particular Avera. In Eretz Yisrael, where he has, besides the tumah of the leprosy and the discomfort of the leprosy, but he also has this great busha, then it's Yisurin Shel Hava as well. It depends where it is. If the leprosy is on a concealed place, it's not such a great busha. If it's on a revealed place, it's much more. So it depends on the level of the difficulty of the tzaras and the level of the busha and the humiliation. So to answer our previous question, yes, tzaras certainly comes for particular averas, but the question is if the tzaras that has great intensity and great busha, and it's in a place and on his body where it causes great discomfort and busha, if it's in Eretz Yisrael. So the issue is, Yisurin, that could be Yisurin Shel Ahava. There could be Yisurin Shel Ahava if there is an extraordinary amount of busha and difficulty and discomfort with the tzaras, then it could be Yisurin Shel Ahava. But if it's in a place where there is, in a concealed place, and it's a lesser level of busha, then it's not Yisurin Shel Ahava, it's for a kapara for averas. So Rav Yochanan said that children is not considered Yisurin Shel Ahava. What are the circumstances? If we're talking where the person, Rahman al-Sani, had children, and they died, and you're saying it's not Yisurin Shel Ahava, Rav Yochanan himself said, then Garama das Hirabir, he carried the bone of his 10th son that died. And he wants to, different reasons, Rashi mentions that he carried the bone, that it should be for him an agmas nefesh and a suffering for it, so that he should have kapara for it. Taisus mentions that it's in order to console other people who may have yisurin and may have suffering. He's consoling them by telling them, look, your suffering was not as great as his. He had his 10th child that died. Now, the pshat in the Gemara is that someone of the stature of Rav Yochanan, if he had this terrible, terrible punishment, it would be for Yisurin Shel Ahava. It would not come as a result of a chet. Right? Some person of the stature of Yochanan would not have a virus that would warrant this terrible punishment. Must have been Yisurin Shel Ahava. Rashi mentions that the bone that we're talking about must be very small, less than a barley seed, less than a seir, should not be matama. Others say that it wasn't the bone, it was a tooth. Al kol panim, you see over here that bonim is Yisurin Shel Ahava. More answers, Ella, what's the pshat? Ella hadloi havalei klal v'had havalei meser. So the difference if he'd never had children. If he never had children, it's not considered Yisurin Shalhava. A person who does not have children, that's not Yisurin Shalhava. A person has a different mazel. There's different reasons that a person has whatever lot in life he has. Some are strong, some are weak, some are wealthy, some are poor, some have many children, some don't. That's not Yisurin Shalhava. If he had it, and Rahman Aslan, they were taken away, that intensity of suffering, and for that level of Yisurin, that's Yisurin Shal Ahava. Rabbi Yechia bar Abba Cholish, he was sick, he got sick. All the Gabi Rabbi Yechon, he came to visit and Amar Lecha Vivin Alecha Yisurin. Apparently he was sick, he had Yisurin Shal Ahava. He said, are these precious? Do you want these Yisurin Shal Ahava? Amar Le Loihen V'Lo Yischarm, not them and not the reward for them. Amar Le Havle Yadcha, give me your hand. Yavle Yadev, Okme gave him his hand, and he recovered. Rav Yochanan Cholish, Rav Yochanan himself got sick. All the Gabay Rav Chanina. Rav Chanina came to visit Amar Lechaviv Alecha Yisurin. He says, are Yisurin precious to you? Amar Le Loihen V'Lo Yischar, not them and not the reward. Amar Le Havle Yadcha, he said, give me your hand. Yavle Yadev Okme. He gave him his hand and he restored it. Now here, in the previous mice, Rav Yochanan was the one who was the healer. Here, Rav Yochanan himself was sick and he needed someone else. He needed Rav Chanina to cure him. So Amai look me Rav Yochanan Nafshe, why couldn't Rav Yochanan heal himself? Omri ein chavish mater atzmi beis asurin. Someone who himself is locked in jail. He's a prisoner, he can't take himself out. Someone who is himself is afflicted with Yisurin, he needs somebody else to free him. Rav Yochanan was able to cure others, but when he himself was, so to speak, a prisoner, he needed someone else to free him. Rabbi Elazar got sick. Rabbi Yochanan came to visit him. He saw that he was dwelling in a dark house. He revealed his thigh. And light came into the house. From the light from his skin, he was so beautiful. The light from his skin lit up the house. And he saw that Rabbi Elazar was crying. Why are you crying? It's because of the Torah. You didn't learn as much Torah as you wanted to learn. We learned a person learns more, a person learns less, just like by a korban. Someone brings a bigger korban. Someone can only afford a mincha and brings a smaller korban. He's an oni. He can only bring that's acceptable as long as Yechavan Liba L'Shamayim. The main thing is he has Kavanah L'Shem Shamayim. He does the most he can do, and if a person learned the most he could, he did the best he could. That's how he's judged, not on what the result is, but on his maximum effort. So that's not a reason to cry. And if it's because of poverty, not everyone is zeicha to shtei shulchanos, to have Torah and wealth as well. So that's not a reason to cry. And if it's because of children, and you're crying as a result of your children, look, this is the bone of his 10th child, Rav Yochanan said. Rav Yochanan said himself, you shouldn't cry. Look at the suffering that he had. He had 10 sons who were taken from him. Amar Le, he answered, why am I crying? He answered, Amar Le L'hai Shufra, for this beautiful person, referring to Rav Yochanan. Rav Elazar said, referring to Rav Yochanan, I'm crying on account of this beautiful person, the Bali B'Afra, that's going to be buried in the ground and decomposed in the ground after Misa. That's why he's crying. That's why I'm crying. This is a valid reason, this is a good reason to cry. And they were crying together. It seems to be very strange. Rav Yochanan is crying because of his Yom Misa. Rav Elazar is crying. Rav Yochanan's Misa, all people eventually go to the grave. And what does that mean? It's specifically for Rav Yochanan. Rav Yochanan is crying on himself and highball because he's so beautiful. The Meforshim speak out that it's a crying on the Churban Beis HaMikdash, because as the Gemara brings down in Bava Metzia that after Rav Yochanan was exceptionally beautiful. But that stopped after the Churban Beis HaMikdash. He was the last, he was the remnant from the earlier generations, after the Churban, that level of beauty wasn't attained. So it's a reminder of the Churban Beis HaMikdash, and that's why they were crying. Perhaps in a similar vein, but on a somewhat different path, maybe we can explain it, that when Klal Yisrael, at the time of the Beis HaMikdash, when there's Hashras HaShechina, when they were on that elevated level that we Chazal bring down, and we have different Makaras, that Eretz Yisrael was so beautiful, the fruit, the trees, the plants, the people, there was beauty, there was exceptional beauty in Eretz Yisrael and in Klal Yisrael. And Hai Shrufa the Bolo, Rav Yochanan, is being taken away. It's not going to be replaced. And it's an indication as to the lower madrega, the niskatnu hadairas of Klal Yisrael, that they were not able to attain the great heights and the great levels that they had at the time when there was Hashras Hashchina. In the interim, so after they were crying, Rav Yochanan asked Rabbi Elazar, are Yisurin precious to you? Not them and not the reward. Give me your hand. He gave his hand and he restored him. Rav Huna tekifula arba mea the chamra. He had many barrels of wine, and he had 400 barrels of wine that turned sour. It's an unusual incident, and it was great financial loss. So as we were discussing before, what is the context of this Maisa? As we were discussing before, so there's Yisurin. When there's Yisurin, a person has to be a Fashish Maisa. Examine his deeds, introspection. What is the reason? What is the reason for this unusual occurrence and this financial loss? And they told to Rav Huna, Ayin Mar B'mile. Go examine your Maisim. Examine for what reason is this coming. Do you suspect me of doing an Avera? Are you suspecting me, and that's why this happened? They said to him, are you Chayshid Rabbeinu Shalom that he would bring upon a punishment without a valid reason? So there must be a valid reason. Rav Huna said, if anyone heard something negative about me, please tell me, Lema. They said, this is what we heard, that you're not giving the branches from the vines to your sharecropper, to your worker. The arrangement that they had was the sharecropper who was working, helping in the vineyards, got a portion of the wine, whatever the arrangement was, whether it's a quarter, a third, a half, and also when they pruned the vines, he got a portion of the branches. So it is heard about you, they said, that you're not giving the Oris his fair share. He says, is he leaving me anything over for me? I mean, he's stealing me. He's stealing me blind. He's stealing me, so I should give him now the portion of the branches as well? He's stealing everything. That's the expression that people say, that after a ganav, anyone who is attached to a ganav, he also steals. So therefore, he may be stealing from you, but you have no right to withhold what belongs to him. So that's what people say, he also tastes the taste of Geneva. I'm a couple myself that I will give him the branches. Meaning, even though you have a valid case against him, you have to take him to a din Torah. Now, even though in certain cases a person is allowed to take it in his own hands, but not in this case. Not in this case. He has a claim against you, you have to pay him, and then you can sue him for what he owes you if you can prove it. So he's makabel himself that he will give the branches. So Igadamre, some say Hadar, Chalav, Avacham. Some say there was a nace, once he was makabel this, the vinegar turned back to wine. Igadamre, some say no, a different version. Igadamre, Ayakir Chalav, Yizdavan, Chama. Some say no, that it didn't turn to wine, but the price of vinegar went up, shot up so high that it was worth the same as wine. So once he was makabel to to give the Oris his share, the Yisurin were B'delim Mimenu. He no longer had the Yisurin, and his financial loss was restored.